Hey everybody, this is Rydo, and today we're looking at the Flight of the Amazon Queen. So I just played Indiana Jones and the Emperor's Tomb, which was not a point-and-click adventure game, which really I wanted it to be. So now the closest thing as far as point-and-click adventure games that would be a little bit close to Indiana Jones would be Flight of the Amazon Queen. But they're doing something a little bit different here. In the Mojo Touch, which has made a 25th anniversary version of this game, which they claim to improve the graphics and audios to make a widescreen and just improve everything overall. But they also give you the original version of the game, which you could just run with the Scum Virtual Machine engine and run the game as it originally was designed. You can see on the credits here, of the people actually credited, there's a lead developer, a UI graphics, and a project leader, so that's not a lot of people. And I will say it doesn't even feel like this interface is particularly great, in that you have just a very generic scroll bar pop up when you come over here to select the language. It is a point and click, but it has enhanced graphics, controls too, and enhanced graphics. So we'll just have to jump in there and see. We can't really test the music volume since it's not playing in the menu. We can't really test the voice volume since it's not playing in the menu. Subtitles and voice are enabled by default. I think for this game and a lot of games of this era, that's going to be pretty much necessary. And then you have a picture of Simon the Sorcerer, if you could recognize him from this tiny little circle here, which just leads to a web page being open promoting Simon the Sorcerer 1, which has a 25th anniversary. I know Mojo Touch in the past with the 7th Guest has made a remake of the 7th Guest, and they really didn't do it to the audience's satisfaction. And so there was more desire, frankly, to play the original version, which they took away and removed from Steam for purchase. And now you have to buy the 25th anniversary edition to then be able to get the free DLC to play the original version of the 7th Guest. Which, ironically, now I believe a different company has announced they are going to make a VR version of the 7th Guest and remake the game yet again. For these kinds of nostalgic games, it's not surprising that people really don't want much of a change. But we will try not to be stodgy about it, and we'll just hop in and enjoy this 25th anniversary edition as well as we can. Arguably, this might be one of the shorter games anyway, so I wouldn't be surprised if I might have a slight twinge to play the game in the original version after playing it one time in the 25th anniversary edition, but that would be kind of crazy. But yeah, even their logo here, which doesn't have a copyrighted trademark on it, is kind of simplistic. Alright, the video is not being captured. At all. So immediately we have a problem.
Well, King.
Let's see if we can address this issue.
Wait here, Sparky.
I will skip to the beginning of the game. I will exit out, and I will start over again. Which that's not being captured either. Okay. So we already have some wonkiness. Let's see if we can address this wonkiness. Where would we get to the menu? Let's just hit the escape button. Like, that's literally the only thing that is being captured. Okay. So I will come over to the software. I will come over, make sure this is right. Enable this. Go ahead and just disable that. Now. Okay. So it took a while to kick in there. And then it's going to take a while to kick in there. So even if I click new game here, it's probably going to take a little bit of time to kick it in. So we may miss at the very beginning the main protagonist being tied up in a room. It's actually very reminiscent of the beginning scene of Sam and Max 1, where they're tied in a room. Very reminiscent of that 1940s, 1950s detective comic type concept. And by detective comic, I don't mean DC comic books as we know them today. I mean actual detective stories where detectives would be tied up to a pole with a damsel in distress, and then a cartoonish time bomb would be ready to explode. Alright, maybe it'll kick in with just the Mojo Touch logo. Good, that seems like that's worked. So an abandoned warehouse in Buenos Aires, circa 1949, 11:58 p.m. and about 30 seconds. I can already tell you what it looks like they've done here is that they've taken graphics and from the original game,
well, King,
and just kind of smoothed
really know
it
how to
over.
show a girl a good time.
It was just dinner and a movie. How was I to know that he'd get upset?
Big Hugh's got a thing about guys dating his girl. There's not much we can do now, Joe.
They're putting the text right over the
Rita,
face of the lady there.
road?
That's bad placement, but that's probably from the original game.
Did you hear that?
Hear what?
Sparky?
You know him?
Don't just stand there, guys. We gotta get out of here before Big U catches on.
It definitely sounds like very generic MIDI audio.
Gentlemen,
It doesn't feel like there's been any real improvement here. If you were going to do a full-on
Hey, watch where you
remake,
put those hands, Buster.
this would be completely new drawn graphics and completely new audio. I could see just updoing the audio.
It's time. That was close.
I gotta hand it to you, King. You certainly know how to end the night with a bang.
Shoot. I almost forgot. I have to pick up Faye Russell, the famous movie star, in less than 8 hours. Let's go, Sparky.
Yeah,
Will
that
I ever
graphics
see you
there,
again?
in particular, does not look great.
Only if you're lucky.
So this is not a LucasArts game, although obviously it was inspired by some of the things that will revolutionize point-and-click adventure games, in that it has a verb icon list at the bottom left when we get into the game. I'll show that off. And it has an inventory. And I don't believe this is a game that is like Sierra, that loves to kill you over and over again. Although it may not be a purely risk-free experience. You can definitely see in those credits there was quite a lot more people credited for the original creation of the game. At 1920 by 1080 resolution, though, you can see how these graphics
Anderson,
are
what are you doing here?
not
And
really
where's
acceptable.
Miss Russell? You fool, King! Did you really think that I would let you fly Faye Russell?
And this is the level of graphics you're going to see in general.
Jungle?
Is just a
well,
very
yeah. I want the
low
contract
resolution
fair and
pixely
square.
image.
You're more gullible than I imagined. Quit kidding, Anderson. I gotta fly her out before the storm hits. I got my plane all gassed up and ready to go.
It's funny, the poster on the left
I will have the money
looks better
and
resolution
liquor.
than the
But
characters.
she's my favorite actress. Besides,
Of course, the
if I don't
picture
get
on the back
money,
that says
I could lose
Illusion
my plane.
looks
That's
pretty
less
awful.
competition for Flying Dutchman Airlines. I will fly Faye to the Amazon for her photo shoot, and I will get all the glory. Soon, I will rule the skies.
So we're introduced to
You can't
our
do that.
enemy.
Now try and get out of this one, King. See
you
later.
He's a Dutchman, but
plane to catch.
he comes off very much like your standard Indiana Jones Nazi bad guy.
It's locked. My one chance to meet the most beautiful actress in all the world has just been shot down in flames. And here I am trapped in a
This
cheap
voice
theater
acting does
hotel in
not
downtown
seem
Rio.
any
Guess
improved.
I should try and find a way out of here.
In a lot of ways, I could imagine you would just run a low effort smoothing. You shouldn't, but you could just run a low effort smoothing filter on the graphics, and you could do a low effort noise reduction on all the audio, but I don't think that really fixes a lot of problems. So yeah, here's your inventory, 4 items with scrolling between them, and here's your verb list. Originally these would have just been words, but here they've got them as icons. Open, close being separate, probably not necessary. Move, give, look at, pick up, use. And then what is new for this game, on top of them just taking an image that would have had you scroll a little bit when you walked over this way, you would have probably in the original resolution not seen this part. But then when you would have walked over there, it would have just scrolled, and you wouldn't have then been able to see this part. By making it widescreen resolution, you just see everything on the screen, which is a good improvement if you were not going to do anything else. That being said, let's see what the graphics would look like if I was to change it to the original and to the original aspect ratio. And then as far as voice options, you really can't change anything. And this MT32, let's see what general MIDI sounds like. AdLib would probably be my first guess as what you should have the audio like. Alright, so we are now going to just start a new game, and let's just see what from inside this launcher the original game looks like. Yes, it's pixely, and we can see that. I think the audio may sound better though as general MIDI.
Well, King,
I
you
think
really
the
know how to show a girl a
pixeliness
good time.
though
It was just dinner
doesn't
and a movie.
lose the
How was I to
detail.
know that he'd get upset?
This is the problem of
Big Q's
running
got
a
a thing
generic
about guys
noise
dating
filter
his girl.
on old film
There's
footage
not much we can
too.
do now,
Is
Joe.
that a
Well,
lot of
Rita,
generic filters
how
will
about
just
one
try
for
and
the road?
smooth things out and get rid of the noise that is
Did
actually
you hear
data,
that?
and
Hear
you'd
what?
rather have the data than have everything
You know
damaged by smoothing everything
Don't
out.
just stand there, guys. We gotta get out of here before Big Hugh catches on. Too late.
The voice acting sounds
I'm
exactly
one
the
step ahead
same,
of you.
which is no surprise.
Gentlemen, kill them.
So she
Hey,
loses her
watch me
shoe
with your hands, Buster.
as they climb out the roof
Them. And I want them
via
dead
the bathtub full of bricks.
this time.
You can see she's still missing the shoe.
Hand it to you, King. You certainly
Particularly
know
since the main
the
game
best.
is going to look this pixely, it makes a lot of sense for the cutscenes to also look pixely.
The famous movie star in less than 8 hours. Let's go, Sparky.
Will I ever see you again?
Yeah, this feels
Only
more
if you're lucky.
accurate. Sorry, I'm moving the mouse around here. To what you really should expect and should want in the game. Maybe you stretch this out into the original 16, into the new 16:9 ratio, but if that smooths things just by stretching, you're probably better to not do that. And the big difference between a film that you were trying to fix with a noise reduction process and a video game is that video games were always digital elements, so it's not like you could take different floppy disks you found of this game somewhere and compare the two and try and figure out which one is the better quality. Like, it's either a yes, you have the data,
Anderson,
or no,
what are
you
you
don't
doing
situation.
And where's Miss Russell? You fool, King! Did
Yeah.
you really think that I would let you fly Faye Russell?
It doesn't
Those
even feel like they've
actress of our
gone
time
as
into
far
the Amazon jungle?
as
Well, yeah. I won the contract fair and square.
yeah, it doesn't even feel like they actually
You're more gullible
redid
than I
how the
imagined.
images work,
Quit
because we're
kidding,
seeing
Anderson.
the
I gotta
entirety
fly
of
her out
this
before the
room,
storm hits. I got my
and
plane
so they're
all
just
gassed
stretching
up
it
and
out.
ready to go. Not this time, King.
Yeah.
I will have the money and the girl. But
When
she's
you
my
compare
favorite
this
actress.
to the
Besides,
remake
if I
of
don't get
the
money, I
Secret
could
of Monkey
lose my
Island,
plane.
where they
That's
fully
less
redid the
competition for
audio
flying
and they
Dutchman
fully
Airlines.
redid the graphics, and both games are running on top
I
of
will
each
fly
other,
Faye to
so
the
at
Amazon
any
for her
point you
photo
can just
shoot,
press the
and
back
I
button on a
will get
controller
all the glory.
to see the original graphics
I will
or swap to
rule
the
the
new
skies.
graphics. This is a
Hey,
very low
You
effort
can't do that.
attempt
I
at
just did.
pretending like you
Now
did
try and get
something
out of this one, King.
extra
See
or
you
special
later. I've got a plane to catch.
when you really haven't. Flight of the Amazon Queen in particular
It's luck.
is in this weird
Yeah.
position where I
My
think
one
it's
chance to meet the most
public domain.
beautiful actress in all the world
I think you can download it
has just
for
been shot
free
down in
on
flames.
ScumVM.
And here I am,
So
trapped
there's
in a cheap
really no
theater
reason to
hotel in
buy
downtown Rio.
somebody repackaging
Guess I
and
should try
selling
and
it.
find a way out of here.
Unlike ScumVM games, which unlike LucasArts games, which are still being claimed, you can still get this little overlay. So this probably is new. You can just kind of tell because of the resolution on it that is probably new, but that's about all it's added is a general assistance, whereas otherwise I would just have to pixel hunt, and it's not that hard to pixel hunt anyways because you can just hover over. I was thinking you would walk over here and then this part would not be visible, but that's not the case. And then you have this blackness at the top that seems like that's just always going to be there, and then this just feels like a total overlay that's not even really scaled correctly. And yeah, I definitely feel like the audio is wrong. So let's go to AdLib on this, and then let's go with the modern aspect ratio with the original graphics, because that smoothing is not worth it. Now there is a launch prompt when you run this to run the one more time. We'll go through the beginning. There's a launch prompt where you could run the original game, and I wouldn't be surprised if that is straight up just a launching of ScumVM, but it probably would be an old version of ScumVM, so it's still better to go and download it. Now when you get to this wider aspect ratio
You really know
with
how
the
to
original
show a girl a good
graphics,
time.
going by from a square 4x3
How was I to
to
know that he'd get
a
upset?
rectangle
Big Hugh got a
should
thing
make
about guys
circles
dating his girl.
stretch out into
There's
ovals,
not much we can do
but
now, Joe.
the clock didn't look that
Well,
terrible,
Rita, how about one for
if that was the
road?
case.
Did you hear that?
Hear what?
But the truth is,
Sparky?
if I were to take these same files
Don't just stand there,
and
guy.
run them
We gotta get out of here before Big U catches on.
through the most recent ScumVM,
I'm one
I could
step ahead of
change the filter
you. Gentlemen,
and
kill them.
do a better upscaling filter than
Hey,
what's
watch
being
where you
involved
put those hands,
in it
Buster.
shown here.
Get them.
So
And
the
I
only
want them
advantage
dead.
of buying it on Steam,
This time.
see, you can see that circle is more of an oval, when that would have been a perfect circle originally
That was
on the
close.
clock.
I gotta hand it to you, King. You
Like,
certainly know how
the
to
only
end
thing
night
you're
in the
really
bed.
getting
Shoot.
is by buying this on Steam,
I
is
almost
having it
forgot. I have to pick
in
up
your
Dave
Steam
Russell,
account,
the
so
famous movie
theoretically
star,
you could always
in 8
download the
hours.
files again
Let's
from
go, Sparky.
a location
Will I
and
ever see you
library you
again?
might search, and the object highlights.
Only if you're lucky.
But for the most part, I would say just play the game originally and lose the object highlights. So, weirdly, I think that's what I've got to do. It doesn't make any sense to even start to play this game and running through this engine when obviously ScumVM will give you a better experience. I think the AdLib audio would be my choice
I'll go upstairs and get Miss Russell.
too. And it's a real shame because you can see in like this cutscene in particular,
Anderson.
you could have
what are you
had
doing
a brand
here?
new
And where's Miss Russell?
8-bit, 16-bit drawn character
You fool, King. Did you really think that I would let you fly Faye Russell? The
that
most beautiful
instead
animal
of
part-time, into
having
the
single
Amazon jungle?
pixel pupils and just a really large
I
amount of
want the contract
blurriness.
fair and
there.
square.
Yeah.
You're more gullible than I imagined.
It doesn't seem like there's an
Quit
auto
kidding,
save
Anderson. I gotta fly
feature
her out before the storm hits.
or
I
anything
got my
that
plane all gassed
could
up,
possibly
ready to
help
go.
you.
Not this
No,
time.
no like
I
hint
will have
system.
the money
This
and
isn't
the
one of the
girl.
point-and-click
But
adventure
she's
games
my
that I
favorite
remember
actress.
particularly
Besides,
well,
if I don't get the
so
money,
this could
I
be
lose
fairly
my plane. That's less
confusing at
competition
some
for
points.
Flying Dutchman Airlines. I will fly Faye to the Amazon for her photo shoot, and I will get all the glory. Soon, I will rule the skies. Hey, you can't do that. I just did. Now try and get out of this one, King.
It's a real
Later. I've got a plane
interesting
to catch.
point to make, certainly, that
It's
if you
luck.
were to buy Schindler's List,
My
let's
one
just pick
chance
a
to meet the
famous
most beautiful
movie
actress in all
that's
the
somewhat
world
old.
has just been
Uh,
shot down in flames.
If you were to buy
Here I
it
am
in a
trapped in a
worse
cheap
form,
theater hotel in
just cheaply
downtown Rio.
remastered, cheaply repackaged,
Guess I should try
at a
and find way
Walmart,
out of here.
is that the way you really should play the game? I would say no. I think as things become more relevant and to history and are older, there is this need for society to constantly improve, and as such, the one and best version to watch something should be the only version that is available or easiest to be available. Whereas we have a situation here where I don't really feel like this is the best version of this game, and yet it is the easiest to get a hold on, because otherwise you have to know what ScumVM is as a emulator that's not really an emulator, and you have to know their specific downloads page to find Flight of the Amazon Queen to download it. Or at the very least you need to purchase this game and potentially use the save files from this game to run ScumVM. And that is definitely going to take more effort than just lazily installing and running a game. That being said, you still are going to suffer graphically. Even if you did run this on ScumVM, you still kind of need to figure out the right settings, so it's going to take a lot more fidgeting. So I'm going to call this episode 0 of this series, and take from what we've learned from this and say, yeah, enhanced interfaces here as far as controls. If we go to classic, let's check that out before we end. I would say AdLib is probably your better bet. Otherwise, do general MIDI. Most people, if they've played this game before, would probably have heard it on general MIDI or AdLib. MT32, I don't really recognize. Original graphics with a stretched aspect ratio, unless you hate the fact that it's stretched out, then go to original. And all the subtitles pretty much, I would say, should be on. And definitely not remaking this game to the point where it would make sense to get rid of the subtitles. What is that language here? Wow. Yeah, I couldn't. I guess Italian, Spanish, maybe that's Russian, maybe that's, yeah, I couldn't even tell you what that is. Yeah, some of these languages, I couldn't even begin to tell you what they were. Yep, the menu's nice here. We will lose that certainly in the not playing the 25th anniversary edition. Let's see. If I go to controls and you have classic controls, then you then lose the black bar at the top, and the hover button still works. It's just you don't have a cursor of feet popping up. So they're trying to emulate the idea of saying you walk here if you just click a generic place, which that's not really adding that much. Like you'll figure that out in less than a minute. That to lose the top part of your screen to a black bar is way worse. So yeah, even the small things that they did improve upon, I would say, is for that first room, just looking at it, it doesn't feel like it's worth it. Anyways, like I said, this is going to be episode 0. I'm going to download the latest version of ScumVM, get the settings all set up, and then we will start playing the game in the next episode. But that's it for this one. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos, because that helps me with YouTube. And then if you want to support me even further, there's some links down below in the description box. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.